Hey, Heat Team, welcome to the call. I'm excited to have this call because you guys are in for something, especially if you were not at our last conference. So I'm Nikki Cotton. For those of you who don't know, Chris and I host this Tuesday night all Heat Team call. And put this on speaker view and see if that works a little bit better. And the reason I'm so excited about this call is the morning that the NMDs gave their speeches, and I don't know if I actually said this to you or not, Annie, and I'm going to talk about you instead of introducing me or my journey or anything. But that morning, the three women that spoke and gave their NMD speeches, number one, I cried throughout all three of them. And it wasn't just because my heart was touched by specifically what they said, but more about the fact that, Annie, you really represent the place that you hold, what you do, who you are, what you spoke about, how you spoke about it, for me, is every reason why I do this business. It's like I sat there and all three of you validated 28 years of my life. Not that I had anything to do with helping you, because I didn't. But the fact is that other people like us did. And that we in this team and in this mission create such magic for people. And that I could even be part of that and be a witness to it is what it's all about for me. So I really thank you. And I can't wait for people to meet you and hear about you. So Annie is a mom of, she lives in Lincoln with her husband, Lincoln, Nebraska. She's got three little girls. She's passionate about her faith. She's passionate about inspiring healthy living. And she's also a foster parent. Her Juice Plus business has made it possible for her to become a stay-at-home mom, which is so many of us did. You know, when I remember starting with the business, all I wanted to do was do it well enough in a short enough period of time that I could retire from everything else, and my kids would not have to be with babysitters. They could be with me. Although I was never a homeschooling mama like you. She's spunky. You're going to hear that. She's relationship-driven, and she loves serving others. And she's best known for busting a move, laughing loudly, and snorting. So hopefully you will entertain us tonight in some way, Annie. And I'm just going to turn this over to you for you to share your story and share what's really on your heart for our team tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's great.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be on the call tonight. I have not met Chris or Nikki before, but I've heard a lot of amazing things about them, so I'm just honored to be here. You know, I'll share a little bit about my journey and then kind of how I feel like I got to NMD, and then I will open it up for questions. So if you want me to, you know, share a little bit more on anything else, please let me know. You know, like Nikki said, I'm married to my husband, Jeff, and we live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we have three little girls. And our journey really started about 6.5 years ago now, when our oldest daughter, she was a baby and had a lot of different autoimmune conditions, really. She had horrible eczema. She had really bad allergies and food sensitivities. She was very colicky, and she was sick all the time. She was in daycare at the time, and I would get calls every other week, sometimes every week, to come pick her up. And as a new mom who was trying to work full-time, I was incredibly overwhelmed. She was on 5 different medications as a 6-month-old, and I just knew there had to be another way. My mother-in-law had been eating Juice Plus for about 10 years at that point, and she honestly had no idea what it was, but she knew that she could be exposed to anything and she would not get sick. So they generously started sending it to us, which is amazing because I felt so overwhelmed. I didn't really know what to do next. And, you know, pretty quickly with Lucy, we started to notice some improvements with her. You know, her skin started, and when I say pretty quickly, I mean over like a 4 to 6 month period, but her skin started clearing up, and she was not getting sick as often, and if she did, it wasn't as severe. She wasn't reacting to foods as much as she had. We were able to wean her off all of her medications, and she was just generally happier. So for us, we were really happy with that. And then we thought, if nothing else happens, like, that's okay. Like, this is exactly what we wanted. You know, Jeff and I thought we were healthy, and in our mid to late 20s, we both had extra weight and high cholesterol, and just a number of different conditions. But I thought by most standards that we were healthy. And with Jeff, he hated vegetables. It was definitely a source of tension in our marriage. If I would make vegetables for dinner, he would grumble, and then we'd argue, and I'm like, just eat them! You're a grown man, you can handle it. And so it, like, slowly over time, he actually started to start taking seconds, and I'm like, what's happening? And then he was making his own salads for work, and he was bringing bags of vegetables to work. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want him to like stop doing it. But he lost about 20 pounds and just started to feel better. He was sleeping better. Then he started to work out more. And he just started to really improve. And it's cool for me to watch. And both of our cholesterol dropped about 50 points within the first 8 months. So that was really awesome to watch his journey. And then for me, I have had really bad stomach and allergy issues since I was little. I mean, I've been into pretty much every gastroenterologist, an emergency room, and a hospital, like all these different tests. And they just kept saying, you have they had diagnosed me with irritable bowel syndrome. And they had said you were allergic to everything, basically everything in the world, which is really, really nice to hear. And my most recent allergist had told me, if you could find a bubble, that's where you're going to be happy. And that is really not helpful medical advice at all. And so, I was supposed to do allergy shots. It didn't work out for me at the time. But about 8 months into our Juice Plus journey and starting to make some other dietary changes, I went away for a weekend, forgot my medication, and didn't really notice anything. And I was on about $250 worth of medication between the two of them. And so it wasn't a small issue, and I was just shocked. And I slowly weaned myself off of all of my stomach and allergy medication. And it's been about 5 years since I've needed either of those, which is just crazy to me because I was so dependent on them. And honestly, for me, I thought it was a genetic thing. I didn't think there was anything I could do to change that. And so that was really cool. And that was kind of the beginning of my journey of realizing not only is food important, but it is incredibly powerful. So I went back to school to get my health coaching certification and just really became passionate about food. And around that time, I was introduced to the business. And that's when I, realized that what we had been eating for 2 years, Juice Plus, was amazing, because I didn't know about the business up until that point. I'm like, of course I'm going to share this with people. Like, we have seen so many changes that it just makes sense. Really quickly, our other two daughters, our middle daughter, we adopted her through foster care. And when she was placed with us, she was removed for medical neglect. And she had high drug exposure. She had a lot of serious health issues. We went through a lot with her, and we got her going really quickly on Juice Plus and probiotics, and we also chose to do chiropractic care with her. And it was pretty crazy just to see the changes in her. And I don't want to pretend that Juice Plus was all of it, but I do think it was a big piece of it. I think that all of the things that we did, including being in a stable-ish home. I don't want to pretend that we're completely stable because we are not. We're a little crazy, but all of those things considered, she didn't need ear tubes like they wanted to do. She is no longer, they thought she had an issue with her heart. They thought she had kidney damage. They thought she had neurological damage. And she's 4.5 now, and she's doing incredibly well. We never did ear tubes. We were able to avoid, she now has a really strong immune system. And so even just Maggie alone for us is such proof of the power of food. And then our youngest daughter, Jovi, just waiting for one of them to start sneaking in the room. They hear me talking and they come. Our youngest daughter, Jovi, she is our Juice Plus baby. I used it as my sole prenatal with her. And the pregnancy was better. The delivery was way better. The recovery was significantly better. And she's 3.5. She's never been in for a sick visit. She's never needed a medication, even Tylenol, even over the counter. And she is just incredibly healthy. She gets sick, but her immune system knows how to function and she can fight through it. So it's so cool just to watch the differences with her. So anyway, all of these things are happening, and I was approached about the business about 2 years into our Juice Plus journey. And at that point, this is really funny for me to say now, but I had told my upline, she's my upline NMD, Kristen Hanquist, and I told her, I'm like, I think it sounds amazing. This is so cool. But there's no way I could share it because I don't have a story. And now I'm like, that is so ridiculous. But it's such a good testament to the fact that we have got to take care of our customers, because when we're healing our body through food, the changes are so subtle that if we don't have someone checking in with us and pointing out these things, people don't notice it. Like for me, I had gotten off of tons of medication. We had dropped our cholesterol. All of these things happened, and I had no idea. I remember being so convicted that I'm like, there's no way I can tell anyone about this because nothing's happened for us. and then looking back. So that is just one thing I really want to highlight, how important it is for us to really check in with our customers and make sure that they are aware of the things that are happening, because you could have someone like me on your team who has amazing health transformations but doesn't realize that it's happening. So anyway, the reason I had titled, oh gosh, what did I even title the talk, Nikki? Something about fitting out, getting comfortable fitting out. And so that's something that's been kind of a theme for me throughout my entire life, is that I really am passionate with helping people figure out how to do what they're called to do, or do what they want to do, or feel like is best for them. Because had I listened to the people in my life who were trying to guide me, I would be in a completely different place today. So, for me, some of that I'll share really, really quickly on this, because I don't want to, I'm sorry, I'm already talking too long. But for me, some of the things, out of high school, I had planned to go to college for dance and chose to go to West Point Military Academy. For some reason, I went from going to a dance to an all-male academy, but that was just something I felt strong about. Another thing for us was foster care. There were so many people in our life that were like, no, you just got married, you're not ready for this, but we felt really strongly about that. We also felt strong about adoption, and for me with health coaching, I had so many people telling me not to do that. With my Juice Plus business, I'm sure everyone on this line has had people tell you not to pursue any type of network marketing or this type of business, because it's a pyramid scheme and all these other reasons that people come up with. And so that's something that I've really had to get comfortable with, is realizing when I feel strongly about something, when I feel like I am being called to something, being led to something, I just have to do it. Because I feel like if we are making decisions out of fear, which oftentimes comes in the voice of people around us, we don't do what we're supposed to do. And I think I look at where we are today, and our life would be completely different had I listened to all those people in our life. We would not have adopted our daughter. I would not be involved with Juice Plus. We would not be preparing to have my husband leave his job. I would not have left my full-time job 2 years into the business. And so I'm incredibly thankful for that. And that is just something I really encourage people to do. Make sure you have those people in your corner that you trust and you can rely on, and you can ask their advice. And then everyone else, just smile, nod, and then move on, because there's a lot of people that are going to give you their advice, and it is not applicable. So I want to share a little bit more with you about kind of why I believe that I got to NMD, because I do not think that I'm not someone who should or would train you on organization or strategies or any sort of anything along those lines. And I think they're amazing. I think that you should, seek help with those, ask your upline, but that is just not how I got to NMD. And if I'm being completely honest, I still do not have the most organized business, but I really feel like because I continued to do the things that I felt like I was supposed to do, the things that I felt like I was called to do, I was able to continue to add team and add customers. And so that is one thing that I really encourage people to do, is do this business in the way that works for you. Of course, there's tons of different approaches and systems and procedures, but you have to find what works out with your personality type and with your lifestyle and with your family. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Even the best intentioned people can give you advice, and it may not work for you. And so find out what works for you with your lifestyle and go with it. I really focused, the main thing that I focused on is just filling my calendar with activities. And that has changed throughout different seasons of our life, but making sure the only thing I can control is what I do. As all of us know, we can't control our team. We can't control customers. We can't control prospects. There's nothing that we can do. And when I get into that mode of trying to convince or strategize or work with people, kind of work people into doing things the way I think they should, it doesn't work. And then I get angry and I get frustrated. And so I really focus on just doing the things and filling my calendar with the activities that work out for me at that point. I guess I'd say work out for me and work out for my team at that point. And so that is something that I've had to, I'm definitely still not perfect at this, because it's hard to release outcomes, but I have to remind myself, all I can do is control my calendar. I can control how much time I put into this business. I can control, what I'm doing, and the rest of it I have to release, because I can get really stressed out about that, and it's not worth it. The other thing that I've done is I have focused on supporting team, which obviously that makes sense. For me and my business, that mostly what that looks like is a lot of Voxer support, and then also events. I have a lot of team that they're local, and so I can do events with them. But I also have traveled the team around the country to do events with them, and I think you have to be a little bit cautious about that, I would say. I did not travel the team that was all around the country until I was getting really close to NMD, and I felt like it was necessary for me in order to hit NMD. But I do think you have to be careful. I think there's a lot of ways to build your business by like virtual events and supporting people through Voxer and virtually, of course. And so I just would say be careful with that, because I have a tendency to do too much and get burnt out. And so just being mindful of, where you are in your life and how much, what to invest at that point. The other thing that I have done is I just have been really flexible with where I was. And where, when I first started the business, my girls were 3, 9 months old, and a newborn. And I had to, how I built my business at that time is very different than how I'm building my business right now. And so I would say always focus on doing what works best in that season of life. And then, and for you, if that right now is doing a lot of in-home events, go for it. And then if you get to that point where it's not working very well for you, then switch. Maybe you're going to have a season where you need to do a lot of virtual events. You need to do a lot of Zoom and Facebook Live and things like that. Awesome. We have an amazing business that we can do it however it works out for us. And I've had to learn to just be flexible with that, and just change as my family's changing and the needs of my family are changing. But there's so many different ways that we can grow our business. And and the two things that I have really focused on, and this is probably, I would say, why the main reason why I have the main reason why I have grown my business is I really focus on heart work. And that there's 2 different types of heart work that I'm referring to. The first type of heart work, and this is the easiest for me, is external heart work. And that is where I am focusing on loving and serving other people. And that is the place where I am the most comfortable. And I did a talk with my upline at the Kansas City Summit, a whole talk on heart work. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, because I think that is why I have stuck with this business, is because I love loving people. I love serving people. I love taking care of people and helping people. And my journey to NMD was not fast. It was about 4.5 years, and it wasn't impressive. It wasn't anything, but I think that the only reason I got there is because I continued to love people and to focus on serving them and helping them in all sorts of different ways in their life. And so I think that is one of the best things that we can do, either with our customers, with team, with prospects, is realize just continue to fill the need in their life, whatever that might be, because it's going to change with seasons. And at some point it's hard with team, because you have to think about your own journey. You're going to be all over the place. And so sometimes with team, the only thing that I need to do for them is just to help them and to care for them and to be there for them, to support them. And I have found when all I'm focused on is what can I do to help them, eventually they come back and they focus on their business again, regardless of what's going on in their life. And so that's something that is really important to me, is that it's not just about Juice Plus. It is about caring for people, and it's about serving them. And when that is my primary goal, then I'm always winning. I'm always, succeeding, and I'm always growing. And it's been really cool just to watch some of those relationships and those flourish, and just to watch how their businesses do continue to grow. They don't run away because they feel like I'm angry with them and I'm some mean boss that is telling them that they're not doing well. So that is one area that I focus on a lot. And the other area that I would encourage you to focus on is the internal heart work. And I am saying, I'm saying heart, so HEART, so heart work. And the internal heart work, I would say, has been probably the most difficult for me, because this is the area where we have to work on personal growth and development. And if I look back at my business, I can tell where I kind of plateaued or stalled out was when I didn't want to deal with the issues that the business was bringing into my life. And I didn't want to look in and figure out what I needed to improve or what I needed to work on. And so my business it didn't grow for a while. And there's been a lot of those ups and downs along the way, but it's so important. There's no way to continue to grow your business unless you are working on the areas in your life that you need to improve. And so this is a huge blessing that we have with our business. It's also really annoying at times because it means that we have to continue to grow, and we can't just shove problems and issues and weaknesses under the rug, but we actually have to deal with them. And so I'm really thankful for this, but it's definitely been something, in my life that has been hard. And so I would say with this one though, make sure if you are if you are in a place in your business or in your life where you are struggling, you've got to reach out to your upline. They may not have the answer, but they probably can connect you to someone that does, or they can point you in the direction of a book or a counselor or something. It is so important because my natural tendency when I'm really struggling is to shut down. And there's no way to grow. There's no way to grow in that state. And so I would just say that if you feel like your business is not growing, if you feel like you are struggling right now, I really look at yourself and figure out, okay, like what area in my life am I having a hard time with? Because that's probably why your business isn't growing. And so, I am thankful. I was really hoping when I hit NMD, like all of my problems are going to be solved and I wouldn't have I would have it all figured out and everything would be perfect. I can tell you for sure that is not the case. I still have a lot of areas that I need to work on, not only my business, but in my personal life and just my personal growth areas. But I am thankful because I think as long as you stay plugged in and you are continuing to grow, like you will work on those areas and you can get better and you can grow stronger. And so those are some of the main things I would say that I feel helped me get to NMD. And then I'll go back to, like I said, fitting out, just being comfortable being myself. And that's an area I'm always going to have to work on, but just doing what I feel like I'm called to do and focusing on the areas that I really want to focus on without letting other people deter me from that. So anyway, I think that is mostly all that I have to share. I appreciate your time tonight. Do you have any questions, or Chris or Nikki, do you have anything that you want me to talk on a little bit more?
Well, I see a question from, it might be Mariah. It says, and I love this question, what non-negotiables do you have for yourself and your team, such as how you communicate on Voxer for communication or attending conference or anything different? Like, what are your non-negotiables with your team that work for you and that you think work for your team?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I would say about 25% of what I do as a leader is get people to conference or big events. I mean, that is a huge area. I start talking about that from day one. They maybe haven't even signed up as a rep, but I'm like, okay, do you want to come with us? That is so, so important. And that is something that our team does really, I would say really well, is we get people to conference and we get people to boot camps. I don't think my business has grown because of me. I think it's because I've been able to get people there. And so I spend a lot of time, and that is one area too. I think it's important to focus on that because I would say people's excuses for not going to conference and boot camps or big events are the exact same limiting beliefs that they have. There are reasons in their mind that they have that they are not, that they can't do the business. So if you can really dig into why they feel like they can't go to conference, you can figure out what's holding them back from growing their business. And so I think there's definitely two benefits there. One, hopefully you will get them to conference. And two, you can really see what their insecurities, their fears, their limiting beliefs are. And so I spend so much time. I mean, honestly, I feel like you can't listen when people say no, because most people are going to tell you they can't afford it. It doesn't work with them. It doesn't work in their calendar. And so you have to convince them the first round, and then they're going to commit to go. And more than likely, if it's one of their first few conferences, then they're going to back out in some way. Something comes up, something happens. And so then you have to go through the whole exercise again. Like, I look at some of my top leaders on my team, and if I could add up how many hours I spent like convincing them and reconvincing them and listening to them cry and listening to them tell me they weren't going to make it and they couldn't leave their kids and they were going to turn around, and they weren't going to go to the plane. Like, it would be endless. Like, there was so much time, but I have to, like, that is really where I focus. Because if I can get them there, the top leaders in this business and in corporate can do the rest of the work. So that's really one of my main focuses, is getting people to events. And then the other one, I would say, I don't know. I mean, I do a lot, most of my support through Voxer, and I try to keep people on Voxer. So if people are texting me, I usually redirect them to Voxer so that I can kind of compartmentalize that a little bit. So that for me, like with being a homeschooling mom and having 3 little ones and foster kids, and, I have to be able to sort of leave it in Voxer. And then if I can't check Voxer, I'll get to it eventually. But that keeps me sane, because I do think that we can get burnt out in this business if we are on and available 24 hours a day. And so that's one thing that I do, is that I really redirect people to Voxer. And I actually don't have notifications turned on in my Voxer, so that I'm only checking it when it's my time to check it. So, and I don't know that that's always right, but for me, that's what works.
What I'm really hearing you say, I wish I didn't leave it on speaker view. I'm not, now Chris, you're making noise. So apparently, there we go. I usually do spotlight instead of speaker view. That doesn't happen. But one of the things I'm really hearing you say is that you don't, defend people's excuses. You stand for their integrity. And that's the difference. You stand for what's right. And so many of us immediately fall prey to, they can't come, and I really understand it. I know what it's like, and let's just leave them alone. And that really just enables them. I love that you really talked about that, Annie. Does anybody else have any other questions?
And Nikki, one thing on that too, I think that goes for anything in the business. I think I really feel like in our culture, we are trained just to agree with people and just to tell them what they want to hear and to make them feel good. Like, we feel like as a leader, if we can just keep them happy and we can tell them what they want to hear, then they're going to stick around. But I have found that the only way that I can grow and my team can grow is if I have those hard conversations with them. And that is, I can think of so many conversations where I've gone into it shaking, and I've had to pray before, and I've been really nervous about it. But I have felt that it is more important for me to tell them what I believe is the truth, not what they want to hear. One of my favorite lyrics from a song is from a Lumineers song, and it says, "The opposite of love is indifference." And that really is so strong to me, because if we truly care about our people, we are going to tell them what we believe to be true. It may not always be right. I'm not going to say that I'm right all the time, but I need to speak my truth to them. That's the only way that I can be an honest leader to them.
Yep. And being able to say it with love. Chris?
Yeah, Annie, I love what you're keeping it real. Thank you for bringing it. And, Nikki and I have 28 years experience in the business. Getting people to conferences is one of my strongest suits. But you just taught me something tonight that's really fantastic. And that is this idea, and it just makes so much sense, that what is keeping them from coming to conference is probably what's stopping them in their business and probably stopping them everywhere else in their life. And if we a newer distributor might say, I have this great new distributor, but she can't come to conference. What a bummer. It totally has a silver lining. It's a conversation that we can dive into so that we can open up. Because really the only reason distributors don't come to conference is the same reason that people say no to Juice Plus, is because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so when you can have this conversation, it just gives it a whole new light. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I really feel like it's the same excuse when prospects tell us that they don't want to do Juice Plus because they can't afford it. That is the same thing. I can't afford it. I'm like, no, that is not the reason. That's the same thing for conference. It's not that they can't go or that they don't want to go. It's that they're scared. They have fear. Yeah.
Pretty much everything that stops us comes from fear and doubt, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit after 6:30. Michael and Mariah, I don't know who it is because it says Michael and Mariah, but they're asking, when is our next conference? It's April 11th in Sacramento, 11th, 12th, 13th, I believe. And we're going to see everybody there. So I'm going to take this and put this into gallery view so that everybody can unmute themselves and really give Annie a really warm heat thank you, whatever that looks like from your heart. She talked about external heart work. I've not heard that expression either, Annie. I love that. I took 3 pages of notes, by the way. Chris said, you look like you're distracted. And I said, no, I'm over here writing notes. That looks distracted. So she had lots of things to say. So,
thank you, Annie.
all right,
Thanks, Annie.
count of 3.
Thank
Give her
you,
a big
Annie.
roaring
Thank
kiss.
you
so
really
much.
good. Thank you.
Great. Enjoyed every bit of it.
Loved it. Great.
That was truly amazing. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Have a great week and happy holidays, everybody. That's really important. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye, and thank you.
Good night, everybody.